But what I'm going to talk about today is really focusing on all the nuts and bolts of a really great content marketing team and kind of how we got there. So we started with 3 people 3 years ago when I came in 2013, and today I actually have 24 plus couple contractors on my team. That does not mean that we went out and hired 21 new people. It has really been an evolution of aligning disparate functions and groups to really come together to bring on and offline strategy all under one roof, and really thinking about how to find efficiencies, how to do this better together, and how to make sure that we're getting the most out of those investments we're making in every piece of content we create. Because that is the reality, right? Every piece of content takes resources to produce, even if it's just a quick little blog post, right? I mean, all of that takes time, effort, and energy, and dollars. Aligning digital and print was really the key here. About 1.5 years ago, we took what was our creative services team and married it together with our digital engagement team to create a formal content marketing department. So what I'm going to talk about today is really sort of the key components of that and how we're actually staffed and structured and what it really truly requires to do content marketing well. But before I jump in too much to how we're structured, just by show of hands, how many of you actually have a formal official content marketing team or department? Okay, so quite a few of you. Good. So the components of our team kind of look like this. And I'm going to deep dive into all of these. But you can see here, design and editorial, so content creation, social media and email, content distribution, brand, project management, and print production, which are really operations and governance, as well as a core leadership team. This is our org chart. I'm not going to bore you with all of the details. We'll talk a little bit about how all of these different groups work. But you can kind of see here, we've got some grouped functions. We have some team leaders. We have some people who are really supporting everything we're doing. We have some dotted lines. We have some contractors. And I'm sure this is all sounding familiar. You kind of take resources as you can get them, and you work together as much as you can. That org chart, though, doesn't encompass everybody that it takes to do what we do. There are a lot of other parts of our marketing division that support us. We have marketing account services or service line marketing, for those of you in healthcare, who really are interacting on a day-to-day basis with our clinical areas to understand their business needs, what stories are coming out of those areas. We meet with those clinical teams on a regular basis to learn and hear from them about what we can do to help. We partner with our corporate communications colleagues, our media relations team, to try and leverage content for earned media. We also have a Cleveland Clinic news service that's creating content for broadcast media every day that we're repurposing and leveraging. We talk to them every morning to know what's going on and align and plan together. We work with our advertising team to support our native needs, and we also create content around some of the things that they have planned. We partner with HR, do a lot of branding work with them, and create content for their needs and internal communications. So you understand the idea. This is today really focused on the people that actually direct report to me. But this is an enterprise-wide initiative, and we are really trying to build a culture of content, which means that we absolutely do this. We join forces with a lot of other groups. So, editorial. You'll notice a little bit of a theme throughout the presentation. I tried to bring my team with me up on stage as best as I could. The writers are really the heart and soul of a lot of the things that we do. They absolutely are the ones crafting the majority of the content we're producing. We do both consumer-facing content as well as physician or B2B content in our space. We do both on and offline content, so we're producing blog posts and content for the websites, but we're also doing a lot of print still. It absolutely has a place. It's a big part of what we do. We create a ton of publications every year. We do collateral and invitations and all the things that you would think about that a marketing department would need. So we are supporting much more than just content marketing per se, and they write and source writers across all of that. What we've really been working a lot on with our editorial team is to get them away from this mindset that they're the editor of a publication. When we took the creative services team and the digital team and merged them together, one of the things that was most challenging to me was to get them to stop thinking print first, stop thinking they needed exclusive content for their print publication or that it had to go in print before we could ever, put it online, which is crazy because print is absolutely an investment, And so, trying to get them to understand we could do digital first and use data to inform that investment. And they've all done a really great job of embracing that. And now we even have all of our writers Google Analytics trained. They're in the data every day to understand, what should they be writing about, what worked, what didn't. They're setting up A/B tests for headlines and subject lines of emails. They're testing link strategies, and they're really trying to take a more holistic approach, be an editorial leader for the areas that they're supporting. When it comes to physician content, you can imagine if you're writing something by a physician, for a physician, the amount of clinical knowledge you need to have is pretty intense. So they really have to be a part of that clinical team. They have to build relationships with physicians. They have to be able to understand their voice and write for them. So this group is extremely talented, and they cover a lot of things that we do in our department. But they have a lot of fun, too. They're a really great group. The majority of them come out of journalism. I think all of them that you see here are absolutely former reporters. There is one writer who's not here in this video who's an absolutely instrumental part of our team, and I want to make sure I give him a shout out. He actually is also the world's greatest tour guide. He gives our Cleveland Clinic tours all the time to all of our VIPs and guests at the main campus, and the day we did the video shoot, he was giving a tour. But definitely want to give a big shout out to Steve. So they do both our consumer blog posts, our physician blog posts. They do the publications, which we have publications in just about every specialty, particularly ones that are U.S. News ranked, which I know if you're in healthcare, you understand what that really means, and how much work it really is and what we're about to be doing in Q4 for voting in January. But we do a lot of content. We publish 3 to 5 posts on the consumer blog every day, all original with our own experts. On the physician blog, Consult QD, we're doing almost the same amount of content. Right now it's about 2, 3, 4 posts a day generally, covering a variety of different specialties. So just with blog post content alone, you can see that the volume is really there and worthy of the numbers of people that we have. But that's not to say you need all of them. It really depends on what your goals are and what different channels you need to support. But this group really, a lot of the stuff that we do starts with them, but equally as important are the designers. I do a weekly stand-up with each of these groups. The designers every time are my most fun. They're an extremely great group of people to work with and absolutely extremely creative, which is a really challenging situation to be in when you're in a sea of gray cubicles and you're limited by brand guidelines. So an in-house design team for us has been crucial. Again, when we merged creative services and the digital engagement team last year, these people were mostly designing print publications. So much so that the blog team was even doing their own photo selection, and the designers weren't really involved at all. What we started to do to sort of get them thinking digitally was get them involved in infographic content or slideshows in different formats that we were doing on the blog. And today they're involved in every single post that we create, no matter what the format is. They also still continue to do publications, but have also transitioned into doing e-newsletter design, thinking about digital invitations versus those print postcards that we were doing so much of. Really trying to shift, again, from a print-first mentality to digital, and really partnering with the writers. For a long time, we would write stuff and get a copy approved and then shift it over to design for layout, right? And today we try to do this very differently. The writer and the designer are working side by side from day one. They know about projects at the same time. They're in the same meetings with the clients that we're serving. They're really trying to be a part of that collaborative process and bring their ideas to the table. Because I'm sure you've heard throughout this conference how important visual communication is, how much more memorable visual content really is, and how much that stuff matters. It's equally important to the words, and we need to treat our teams that way. Because if we're not thinking like that, nobody else is either. And so it's been a really important part of our transition. This group has actually done hundreds of infographics internally. In 2015, we did more than 150 of them, all within our brand standards, but all totally different. We do a lot of food content, as you can see up here, but it runs the gamut. We do a lot of innovation and research-oriented topics. We do a lot of medical things that are really kind of things you might want to hang in your medicine cabinet and have handy. We know that this content does extremely well for us. We also still, like I said, do a lot of clinical physician publications, and so they have to be really nimble. They all are. They all do everything. There isn't, a structure in which one person's doing publications and one person's doing digital design. They all do everything. They're assigned certain service lines that they support, but there's also sort of different areas that we don't necessarily assign a designated person to, and they all sort of pitch in and help out. And they all absolutely touch both the consumer and physician blogs. They help with this, we've developed image guidelines. We try to be really thoughtful about image selection with even just a text post to make sure it looks really great in the space, that it looks good on a phone, that we've got all the appropriate sizes and crops available and things like that. So the design team has been crucial to that success. But creation is half the equation. Distribution is huge. Huge, huge, huge. You cannot create content and expect people to find it, expect people to see it. You've heard it over and over this week. Great content doesn't always win. It's about promotion. It's about putting the content in front of the right audience, finding the audience for your content. So one of the things I want to make sure that I say here is invest in distribution. And whether that means people or paid tactics or all of the above, it's really, really just as important as the creation piece. So our model with the blog, which, when I was introduced, it is the #1 most visited hospital blog in the country. And when I came in to the Cleveland Clinic, it already existed. It was called the Health Hub, if you've heard that story before. We were getting about 250,000 visits a month to the blog, which is okay. I mean, it's good. The approach at that point in time, though, was a build it and they will come. It was, let's repurpose some content and throw it up on the blog, and people will find it from search results. Yeah, not so much. So when I came in, we started to really look at distribution. At that point in 2012, we were still doing the 3 to 5 posts a day that we're doing today. But what we started to do is really get sophisticated about distribution. And not just social media. I mean, that was an important part of it. And even, in 2013, Facebook was 60% of our traffic by itself, which is pretty astounding. But still, you don't want to get too reliant on any one channel, right? That's really a dangerous game to play. And so we really started to leverage every piece of content every way possible. That's when we started to have conversations with our PR team, our advertising team, really starting to look at new channels too, ramping up email, trying to grow subscribers. It's not one or the other, it's all of the above, right? And really trying to exploit this model. The hub and spoke model, even though I'm a little bit embarrassed by it after seeing Mitch Joel's presentation yesterday, it's still really important and it still really works. This just isn't our only hub anymore. We've added on. We have the Consult QD Physician blog, and we have different channels that float around that one. But it's not just a publish it on the blog at 9 a.m. and blast it out everywhere. It's really thoughtful, strategic placement of every channel, right? What goes on Facebook when, what goes on Twitter when. We're only doing 3 to 5 original posts a day, but on Facebook we're doing 12 posts a day. On Twitter it's 20 to 25 tweets a day. And so we're repurposing and reusing content over and over and over again. And the only way that that happens is that you have a really smart content strategy that gives you evergreen content to work with. And so we do a lot of content, but every single piece of content we produce has to be reviewed by a medical expert, whether that's a physician, a nutritionist, a therapist, whatever. And obviously their job is not reviewing content all day. They have to take care of patients first, and we completely respect that. So in order for this to work, we literally have hundreds of pieces of content in production every day. And they're all in various states of flux, and we know that. And we work with different experts. We try to spread around our requests. But we're trying to fuel all of these channels with great stuff, right? So we vet ideas. We make sure before we write something that it's warranted, that we haven't done it before, that it's actionable, that it's useful, helpful, relevant, that it's going to actually get some engagement. It's worth their time that we're taking them away from patients to do. So once the content is created and we're really thinking through the distribution, it's absolutely data-driven too. I can't stress that enough. You didn't see, when we had those little gears up there, you didn't see an analytics and measurement piece, because that is throughout. That is our culture. Everybody looks at data all day long, and it is not just about a report at the end of the month about how much traffic did we get. It is absolutely about continuous improvement and constant optimization every single step of the way.